It is barely even late January and we already have the most controversial car of the year. And it's not a supercar or luxury car or anything like that. It is the 2026 Honda Prelude. This is the car that no one can agree on and everyone has a hot take about because no one quite understands what it is and who it's for. And the problem is all in the name because Preludes have history and history creates expectations. The Preludes of the 80s and 90s were sports cars. They had manual transmissions and high revving engines with VTEC and all-wheel steering. And this has none of that. It's a hybrid, it's an automatic, it doesn't rev super high, so it's a Prelude, but not. And even the chief engineer couldn't really help us make sense of it because according to him, the idea behind this car was not to be like a fighter jet, but to be more like a glider. These are his words. The other important thing he said was that they never set out to make a new version of the old Prelude. In fact, they weren't even necessarily going to call it Prelude at first, but they decided they liked the name, partly because it has history and it's recognizable, but also because of what the word Prelude means. The idea of this car is to be a preview of what future performance cars will be like when all cars are hybrids and electrics, but it's not exactly that either. What this car actually is kind of a mashup of all the Civics that already exist. It's like a Civic hybrid coupe SI. The chassis is a modified Civic. The interior is modified Civic. The powertrain is Civic hybrid with some new programming. And the suspension and brakes are from the Type R. So it's just kind of all these pieces put together to make this new coupe. So you can see why just on paper, without anybody ever having driven it, that people are confused and the fans are upset because this is not what they were expecting. And I think the only way we can really make sense of this car is to go out and actually drive it. All right, so we've got this car out here in the mountains east of San Diego into some twisty sections, and this is where it starts to come into focus a little bit. I said it was like more like a Civic Si, even though it has Type R parts, and that's because the Civic Si also doesn't have a lot of power, but handles really well, and that's kind of what's going on here. Like if they just made an Si with an automatic, it has the same horsepower as a Civic Hybrid, 200 horsepower, 232 pound-feet of torque, which is basically the same as the Si, maybe a little more. So it's all about momentum. This car has a lot of grip and it does handle very well. So you can really carry a lot of speed through these corners, and that's what you want to do. You want to try and drive this car using the brakes as little as possible. Keep that momentum up and you can have some fun with it. But try not to lose that momentum. Try not to get stuck behind any slow traffic or anything, because getting it back up to speed kind of takes a while. We haven't tested it yet, but some other people have, and if you do everything right, you can get it like into the 7-second range, but it's more of kind of an 8-second car in normal driving. But it has this Type R suspension, so it does handle very well. But we really have to talk about the new programming they did in this car, right? So it's got different drive modes that, you know, are supposed to make it sportier. They make the dampers stiffer and the throttle response sharper, the steering heavier, things like that. But they're really kind of small differences. None of them is huge. You feel a difference, but it's not night and day in any way. And then there's the big S Plus button here. And what this is artificial fake shifting. They've programmed the electric motor and the gasoline engine to pretend like it's an 8-speed automatic. So it's mostly like amps up the artificial engine and noise enhancement. It makes it sound like you're doing a lot and it's accelerating hard, right? Like, here we go, we're going. But then you're not actually going that fast, and it doesn't actually feel like gears are changing. So I think really, like, if they haven't already, Honda needs to go buy a Hyundai Ioniq 5N and benchmark that, because that fully electric car absolutely feels like it is actually changing gears when you're doing it, and it's much more convincing. And because it's more convincing, I think it's actually more engaging. This just kind of feels like, okay, yeah, the noise kind of sounds right, like a normal non-hybrid car, and I can pull these actually very nice metal shift paddles and change the gears myself, but because I'm not getting all the sensations, it's not enhancing the experience as much as I think they intended for it to. So in point of fact, I actually kind of think this whole car feels like a good first draft that needs a bit more time in the oven. It's very competent. It goes around this corner very well, pulls a lot of cornering G, it can carry a lot of speed, but nothing is really creating an emotional connection with me. I'm not being like, oh man, this is really fun, and I don't care that it's not as quick in a straight line as I thought, or whatever else. It's just kind of like, yep, it does this well. It's probably gonna make some good numbers on the skid pad, but nothing about it is making me like fall in love with this car. And I don't know what it needs. Maybe something a little different in the handling to make it a little more lively, give it a little personality instead of just sort of this, very straight lace kind of thing that it's doing now. Another 50 horsepower wouldn't hurt either. But I don't know, it needs something, because as an enthusiast, I'm just not connecting with this car. And that kind of makes us wonder then, who is this car for? I mean, this is a $43,000 car, and a Civic Hybrid, which is also like just as quick as this, and also handles well, is like 35 fully loaded, and a Civic Si is like 32. And then other cars at that price range, I mean, you could get into a BMW 2 Series, Ford Mustang, like any number of other like SUVs or sedans. Like, so who's buying this car that handles really well and looks good, and that's kind of it? And I think it has to be someone who's wants a car that looks cool, but doesn't actually need it to be sporty. Someone who's really just kind of going for a good image, right? Because this is a good-looking car, and you will have fun if you go quickly around a corner. But it's not a super high performance car. So I imagine it's somebody who's like walking into the Honda dealer and going like, okay, I want to replace my Civic or my Corolla or whatever like normal kind of car that I drive. And this thing looks cool, great. And I don't actually want to pay full freight for a Type R. I don't want to have to ship my own gears. I actually still have to commute to the office, but maybe I'm an empty nester and I don't have kids that need to go in the back or anything. So it doesn't have to be practical. It just has to kind of look good and get good fuel economy. And I guess there's not a lot of cars that fit that description. So maybe Honda has stumbled onto a little niche here that no one else is serving, maybe? Honda doesn't seem worried about it. They're only planning to import like 4,000 to 5,000 of these cars per year. So maybe that's it. Maybe the Prelude is for those 4,000 or 5,000 Americans per year with that very specific use case, I guess. For everything else you could possibly want to know about the new Prelude and who it's maybe for, go to MotorTrend.com.